years of quality journalism. For 3 decades, your channel has provided valuable information and perspectives on Korea's society, economy and culture. My very best wishes for continued success over the years ahead.
내 곁에 있어줘 내게 머물러줘 네 손을 잡은 나 놓치지 말아줘 이렇게 네가 한 걸음 멀어지면 내가 한 걸음 더 가면 되잖아 그런 위로도 나의 줄 수 없지만 아무런 희망도 내 되어줄 수 없지만 그냥 함께 가보자 어떤 길이라도 나와 함께 가줄래
Introducing Korean broadcast content that you won't be able to stop watching. For weary modern souls, Dr. Romantic, the quirky genius doctor of Puldam Hospital, prescribes heartwarming tales of humanity. A couple together for 7 years sees their rose-tinted glasses shatter. Can they keep their relationship alive? Discover the raw stories of youth, work, and love. Beyond what social media can show, experience the vibrant Korea through its hidden gems. Mama, the ultimate K-pop festival for global fans. Find your star in a feast of trendy music and electrifying performances. Now, the whole world enjoys it together.
The moment we wear it, our spirits lift. It helps us grow strong in body and in mind. As we wear it, we learn patience and respect. The belt system motivates students to strive harder and continue growing. This uniform shapes movement into grace and turns performance into something thrilling. Now, embraced around the world, Taekwondo shares our culture, philosophy, and values with pride and spirit. Though it may seem simple, this uniform holds your passion and your journey. It belongs to Taekwondo. Wear the extraordinary. Be with Taekwondo.
New details about the suspect in Saturday's shooting at the White House Correspondents Dinner in Washington, D.C. indicate that he sent a note to his family members, saying it was his duty to target Trump administration officials, though he did not name the president directly. Iran's top diplomat briefly returned to Pakistan to reignite negotiations, but U.S. President Donald Trump said talks could be held by phone after calling off plans to send envoys for peace talks. Starting today, the Korean government is rolling out a relief fund to help ease the impact of soaring living costs driven by high oil prices. Worth about $4 billion, the fund will be distributed to around 32 million people in the bottom 70% of income earners in the country. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. We begin today in the United States. On a night dedicated to press freedom, Saturday's White House Correspondents Dinner in Washington, D.C. ended in gun violence after a suspect allegedly attempted to target members of the Trump administration. Our Cho Young-eun starts us off. According to U.S. officials cited by the Associated Press, the suspect sent a manifesto to family members about 10 minutes before the shooting. The suspect was identified as Cole Thomas Allen, 31, from Torrance, California. The New York Post published what it said was the suspect's manifesto, in which he referred to himself as a friendly federal assassin. He said it was his duty to attack Trump administration officials. The document outlined his rules of engagement, included a list of targets ranked by priority, with Trump administration's officials at the top while detailing grievances against the administration. Speaking in a phone interview with Fox News, U.S. President Donald Trump said the suspect had written an anti-Christian manifesto and described him as someone with a lot of hatred in his heart.
And the guy is a sick guy. When you read his manifesto, he hates Christians. That's one thing for sure. He hates Christians, a hatred. And I think his sister or his brother actually was complaining about it.
According to investigators, Allen traveled by train from California to Chicago before heading to Washington and checked into the hotel several days before the event. Federal agents arrested Allen after he breached security at the Washington Hilton with a shotgun, handgun, and multiple knives, and fired at Secret Service agent, hitting the agent's bulletproof vest. Secret Service agents and police have since interviewed Allen's sister, who told investigators that her brother had legally purchased multiple firearms from a gun store in California and stored them at their parents' home without their knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, it's textbook lone wolf. Like I said, once we get into the ability to analyze his digital footprint, I think we're going to see that there were signs there.
The suspect is expected to appear in federal court on Monday on at least 2 charges of assaulting a federal officer and using a firearm during a violent crime. Cho Young-eun, Arirang News. South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung has condemned the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, calling it shocking and regrettable. In a social media post on Sunday, he described political violence as a grave threat that undermines the foundation of democracy and can never be justified. He added that the Korean government firmly opposes all forms of violence and extremism that erode democratic values and the rule of law. President Lee also expressed relief that all those present, including U.S. President Donald Trump, were safe and offered his deepest sympathies to the American people. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has returned to Pakistan as Tehran pushes new ceasefire demands through mediation, even as U.S. diplomatic momentum falters. U.S. President Donald Trump has canceled a planned envoy mission, citing lack of progress, though indirect talks between the two sides are ongoing. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has returned to Islamabad just one day after a brief visit to Oman, as diplomatic efforts to end the conflict with the United States continue to shift. According to Iranian state media on Sunday, Araghchi met with Sultan Haytham bin Tariq in Muscat before traveling back to Pakistan's capital. There he held talks with senior officials, including Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir. Tehran says this visit is part of ongoing ceasefire negotiations, with Pakistan serving as a key mediator between Iran and the U.S. During the talks, Araghchi is believed to have presented a detailed set of proposals outlining Iran's conditions for ending hostilities. Following his meetings in Islamabad, Arakchi is expected to travel to Moscow for high-level consultations, signaling continued coordination with key regional players. Meanwhile, momentum on the U.S. side appears uncertain. The White House had previously announced plans to send envoys, including Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, to Islamabad to build on earlier face-to-face talks. But shortly after Arakchi's departure, President Donald Trump said he had canceled the mission, citing a lack of progress. Speaking to Fox News on Sunday, Donald Trump said the United States would not be sending envoys, signaling a pause in direct diplomatic outreach. He indicated that dialogue remains possible if Iran initiates contact, emphasizing that Washington is open to talks without deploying a delegation, instead stressing that Iran can just call. Despite the setback, indirect communication between the two sides is continuing, according to Pakistani officials familiar with the matter, suggesting that diplomatic channels remain open even as tensions persist. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un reinforced a united front with Russia against the United States-led order, honoring his troops killed in action amid the Kremlin's war with Ukraine. According to the North State-run Korean Central News Agency, the message came on Sunday at a ceremony that marked 1 year since North Korean forces aided Russia's recapture of Kursk, with a burial ritual for fallen soldiers. Kim said their actions help counter what he described as U.S.-led hegemonic ambitions and stressed deepening military ties with Moscow, describing the relationship as forged in blood. He called for stronger unity between the two countries in responding to future crises. And starting today, Korea's government is distributing its high oil price relief fund, worth 6.1 trillion Korean won, or roughly $4.1 billion, to cushion the heavy economic blow from rising living costs. Our Kim Do-yeon has more.
Korea has begun officially deploying its high oil price relief fund to mitigate the economic impact of soaring living costs. The high oil price relief fund targets around 32.5 million people, making up the lower 70% of income earners. Monday's initial rollout prioritized the most vulnerable demographics. For basic livelihood recipients, those in the metropolitan area receive 550,000 won, or about $372, while residents in non-metropolitan or depopulated areas receive 600,000 won. Single-parent families and the next lowest income group receive 450,000 and 500,000 won, respectively.
The shock of such crises hits the vulnerable first and most harshly. In times like these, government finances must take the lead and serve as a breakwater to protect the public economy from the waves of crisis.
Others who are eligible will receive their payouts during the second phase, scheduled from May 18th to July 3rd. Payments range from 100,000 won, or roughly $68 for those in the metropolitan area, to up to 250,000 won, or $169, depending on region. Funds distributed via credit cards, check cards, or prepaid cards can be used the following day, while gift certificates picked up in person can be used immediately. To stimulate the local economy, usage of the relief funds is strictly limited. Recipients must spend the money within their registered residential city or county. Spending is also restricted to small businesses with annual sales under 3 billion won, or approximately $2 million, excluding entertainment and gambling establishments. All distributed funds must be used by August 31st. As for foreigners, those registered at the same address as a South Korean national, as well as permanent residents, marriage migrants, and recognized refugees are eligible, provided they are enrolled in the National Health Insurance or Medical Aid programs. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
South Korea is stepping up efforts to tackle one of its most pressing public health challenges, with a new nationwide campaign bringing together government, communities, and public figures. Our Moon Yeon files this report.
A message of connection and a reminder that support can come from many places. South Korea's Prime Minister Kim Min-seok on Friday launched the 1,000 Lives Guardian project at Cheonggye Plaza, setting a goal of reducing the number of suicide deaths by 1,000 this year. The initiative focuses on expanding prevention efforts beyond government policy, encouraging wider participation from communities, institutions, and the public. As part of that effort, a group of artists, entertainers, and public figures have been appointed as life ambassadors, using their platforms to share messages of support and awareness. Among them is NCT's Toyoung, who took to the stage to perform Sandbox, a song from his second solo album intended to serve as a source of energy and support for people struggling through tough times. In his remarks, the Prime Minister emphasized the role of connection in prevention.
I've come to believe that one of the most important ways to address the issue of suicide is to ease and share one another's sense of loneliness.
Here at Cheonggye Plaza, the focus is on making support more visible and more accessible. Officials say efforts like this aim to build a stronger sense of connection, making sure that people know where to turn when they need help.
The campaign also brings in dozens of organizations designated as guardian institutions, each working on tailored programs. Many attendees participated in interactive displays where they were encouraged to share messages of hope and solidarity for others. Among the corporate participants, SK hynix showcased a booth featuring its AI-driven senior care technology, including the AI-friendly counseling center, which utilizes artificial intelligence to provide mental health screenings and emotional support for the elderly. The initiative comes as South Korea continues efforts to bring down its suicide rate, which remains among the highest in the OECD. Organizers say meaningful progress will depend not just on policy, but on sustained attention and participation across society. Arirang News.
Figs, typically considered a summer fruit, are now breaking seasonal boundaries. They're now being produced even in the spring, serving as an income booster for farmers and allowing them to avoid working through the summer heat. Our Tae-Yoon-Gang reports.
Over 1,000 fig trees inside a greenhouse are bursting with fresh, light green leaves. A young farmer picks a ripe fruit, which is about the size of a child's fist, from between the branches. While figs are typically harvested in midsummer, the introduction of harvest expansion techniques has made it possible to pick fresh fruit as early as spring.
By cultivating figs year-round rather than just in summer, I believe we can create a great synergy.
Fresh figs harvested in spring are highly valued due to their scarcity. They're typically sold for around 50,000 won, which is approximately $33 per kilogram, serving as a major income booster during the agricultural off-season.
Since there is almost no supply during the winter season, farmers can command premium prices by targeting high-income consumers who find these early fruits quite remarkable.
Unlike summer figs, which tend to soften quickly at room temperature, it is much easier to maintain freshness during the cooler winter and spring months. Moreover, a major benefit for farmers is the ability to avoid the grueling labor of working in the sweltering summer heat. This challenge to overcome seasonal limits is breathing new energy into rural communities. Tae-Yoon-Gang, Arirang News.
Self-driving cars are becoming more common, but safety remains key. Our Kim So-young shows us how a newly developed roadside radar sensor helps detect hidden vehicles, cyclists, and pedestrians in poor visibility.
Autonomous vehicles are becoming increasingly more common on roadways, but maximizing their safety may require more than refining vehicle technology alone. Researchers at Rice University in Houston, Texas, led by postdoctoral researcher Cho Gun-woo, have developed a compact roadside radar sensor, IDAR, designed to help self-driving cars detect vehicles, cyclists, and pedestrians that may be hidden from a vehicle's onboard sensors at intersections or under poor visibility conditions.
Radar can only detect objects when its signal bounces back to them. But in many real-world situations, signals reflect away instead of returning. And by placing sensors on roadside infrastructure, we can observe the same scene from different angles.
Radar systems send out signals that reflect off objects and return with information, but only a small portion comes back directly, leaving vehicles with an incomplete view of surrounding traffic. IDAR, a low-power millimeter wave radar sensor about the size of an orange, addresses this limitation by capturing reflected signals that would otherwise be lost, enhancing the accuracy of environmental sensing for autonomous systems. The system uses a 3D printed lens to determine the direction of incoming radar signals. In testing, it was able to identify signal direction more than 200 times faster than conventional radar designs. Researchers say the technology shows strong potential, though further validation and development are still needed.
Before deploying on real roads, we need to ensure that the system is reliable, affordable, and scalable, and that it integrates seamlessly with existing vehicles under high mobility. Most importantly, we want to verify that IDAR can detect critical scenarios like pedestrians stepping out from a bus or crashes happening behind the site.
If successfully deployed, it could play a key role in improving the safety and reliability of autonomous driving systems. Kim Seo-young, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. Israel ordered its military on Saturday to strike Hezbollah targets in Lebanon and said Hezbollah had fired rockets into northern Israel. Israeli forces struck rocket launchers and facilities used by Hezbollah's elite Ledwan units overnight. 4 people were killed in the Israeli strikes. 2 Hezbollah rockets crossed into northern Israel, 1 intercepted with no casualties reported. A Hezbollah lawmaker had declared the ceasefire meaningless just 1 day after President Trump announced its 3-week extension. Mali's Defense Minister Sadio Kamara was killed on Saturday when militants attacked his residence near the main army base outside Bamako. The al-Qaeda-linked group Jainim, working alongside a Tuareg rebel faction, hit multiple locations, including near the capital's airport and cities further north, including Mopti, Sevare, and Gao. The militants also claim to have captured the strategic city of Kidal, where Mali's military said operations were still underway. Russian mercenaries supporting the government were reported wounded. The attacks represent a significant setback for the government's Russia-backed security strategy. In the U.S., Kevin Warsh's path to leading the Federal Reserve cleared on Sunday after Republican Senator Tom Tillis said he would no longer block the confirmation. This follows the Justice Department's decision on Friday to drop its criminal probe into current Fed Chair Jerome Powell. With Tillis on board, Senate Republicans now have the votes to advance Warsh's nomination. Jerome Powell's term ends on May 15th, leaving the Senate just weeks to confirm his replacement. Kenya's Sabastian Sawe made history on Sunday at the London Marathon, becoming the first person to run an official marathon in under 2 hours. Sawe finished the race in 1 hour, 59 minutes and 30 seconds. He broke the world record set by the late Kelvin Kiptum in 2023. Second-place finisher Yomif Kijelka of Ethiopia also finished under 2 hours, making it the most remarkable men's marathon podium ever. In the women's race, Ethiopia's Tigst Assefa broke her own world record, winning in 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 41 seconds. 주지한, Arirang News.
After summer-like days, Central Korea gets a reset today. The new week began with sunny skies this morning, but with clouds increasing and rain on the way, temperatures will be closer to where they should be for this time of the year for central parts of Korea. Rain begins tonight across the capital area and Gangwon-do province, spreading into Chungcheong-do province by early tomorrow morning with 5 to 20 millimeters in the forecast. But before the rain arrives, dry conditions remain in place across the central areas with dry weather advisory being in place. And as you know, with hiking and camping season in full swing, use extra caution with anything that can create a spark. Southern regions, however, stay much warmer with sunnier skies, getting up to 27 degrees Celsius in Daegu, 24 degrees in Daejeon, but Seoul will only make it to 22 degrees Celsius this afternoon. But once the rain clears out, skies brighten again and pleasant spring weather should return.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.
Arirang TV, I want to say you a happy anniversary now that you are